Hello, I'm Michelle.
And I'm Lucy.
Welcome to another Cameo episode. These very short episodes will be slotted in between the other ones and will cover people who made a fleeting yet tantalizing appearance in other episodes.
Very fleeting.
We don't always have a lot of information about them, so they can't have a full episode of their own, but they're too interesting to abandon completely, and they fill in the gaps and enable us to create as full a picture of the era as we can.
And today, Sir Marmaduke Constable.
Marmaduke, really?
Yes, it's him.
He's a big old dog.
We have mentioned him from time to time, but only in a, wow, that's a wonderful name type way.
Yeah. Marmaduke.
I've looked before and couldn't find much, but then, I've always, these Cameo ones, I always look on Wikipedia to see, if there's only 4 lines on Wikipedia. I think, well, unlikely to find too much on this bloke. And there wasn't much on him on Wikipedia because they missed out the most interesting bit.
Oh.
Yes, I don't
Scooping
know why.
Wikipedia. Okay.
Yeah, the rest of his life, interesting, but we've come across people like him before, but not with this extra added interesting quirk.
Okay.
Anyway, the Sir Marmaduke Constable. The constables came from Flamborough in Yorkshire. The first constable to achieve any sort of fame was Sir Robert Constable, who played some role in the murder of Piers Gaveston, the favourite of Edward II.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, and possibly the love of his life in that rather sad story.
Yeah.
Marmaduke was the son of Sir Robert Constable, a different one, obviously.
Okay.
Because the family alternates between Roberts and Marmadukes in a way that is extremely annoying.
I really want to know where the name Marmaduke came from at all.
Yeah, I didn't think to look that up.
It's very different.
What would you call him for short? Marmy? Don't know.
Duke?
Yeah.
Probably like that. I'm a duke. You're not a duke.
Yes, you can take that feather out your hat. Editing Lucy here. I did look up the derivation of the name Marmaduke. 2 possible derivations. One, it's Irish, and he was the follower of St. Madoc in Ireland. He was a Catholic saint who lived in the 6th and 7th centuries. Or, and I prefer this one, Anglo-Saxon, meaning a mighty noble. But I have to say that most people go with the Irish option. Sir Robert fought on the Lancastrian side of the Wars of the Roses, under the Percys of Northumberland. But like many of them, even when Edward IV gained the throne, the constables didn't suffer unduly. They just thought, oh, hey-ho, and went over to Edward's side. When Marmaduke was old enough, he entered the service of Henry Percy, and that's our Henry Percy, the one we did.
Oh, okay.
Because his father, if you remember, was killed at Towton.
Yes.
And then Henry Percy was kept as hostage for the good behaviour of his uncles.
Yeah, which also isn't good for you.
Yes, there was one dissolute one who came under the heading on issue of others.
Yes.
And then there was the other one who seemed to care so little for what happened to his little nephew that he carried on rebelling against Edward. The constables accompanied Edward IV to France. That time he picked up that nice little nest egg in the Treaty of Picardy. And he then went on that excursion to Scotland that we heard about in both Henry Percy and Francis Lovell's episode. And Marmaduke must have done pretty well since Percy knighted him in Berwick in 1481.
That's always surprising that Percy isn't a king. How does he get the ability to knight people? I know they can invest people with the ability to knight others, but yeah.
Well, he must have done, although it seems strange. I mean, somebody who'd been in prison for quite some time, when he comes out and says, oh yeah, and you can knight people as well.
Yeah. Elizabeth I got really angry at Robert Devereux, the Earl of Essex, for knighting his friends when he was on campaign in Ireland.
So he hadn't been given permission, presumably.
He hadn't been given permission, and that's one of the things she took him to task in her many, many letters telling him he sucked while he was over there. Yeah. So
Percy must have
been given permission, or is this another... Like, is it automatic? If you're in charge of a campaign, are you allowed to knight people?
Could be.
I really want to know the rules now. Okay, I'm going to look
Well,
that
Henry
up.
VII knighted people on the beach when he landed at Milford Haven, and he wasn't
Yes, but
king.
he was going to be king.
He was going to be king if everything went all right, which luckily for him it did.
Okay.
In 1483, Marmaduke entered the service of Rich III, and he did pretty well too out of the failed Buckingham Rebellion. He was given the Duchy of Lancaster properties in the Midlands, including Tutbury Castle, which became his main residence, and he became Constable of the castle.
Constable.
The previous owner of the castle had been William Hastings, who was summarily beheaded by Rich III. We aren't 100% sure what Marmaduke did in the Battle of Bosworth, but it's thought he might have been with Henry Percy and just stood on the sidelines and watched. And whether that was what Marmaduke wanted to do, or whether he was just doing what his Percy patron did, we don't know. But he was given a pardon by Henry VII, so he might not have fought.
Interesting. Yeah, but Henry VII also gave out pardons if it meant that you would come back to loyalty to him. Otherwise, he'd be killing too many people.
Yeah. Yeah, and you'd have too many resentful sons.
Yes.
Hanging about.
I love how they always figured on the sons, though, because a lot of the women were very scary.
Well, Marmaduke carried on doing all right. He was made Sheriff of Yorkshire, 1488, and this was an interesting time to be in Yorkshire because it was the time of the tax riots when Percy went up there to sort it out and got beaten to death.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Apart, presumably, from losing a friend, Marmaduke had also lost a patron and had to search for another. Thomas Howard was on the up and up. He would later marry Anne of York, as we heard, and this time Howard was trying to ingratiate himself with Henry. Howard nominated Marmaduke for the Order of the Garter in 1509, but for some reason he didn't get it.
Big dog. I'm sorry.
Well, you've now offended all the Marmadukes who listen to us.
But it's a children's book that I loved when I was a kid, and they made a movie out of it, didn't they? It's a Great Dane. He's a Great Dane.
I don't know. I only know Beethoven. Well, the next time we hear about Marmaduke was in 1513, when he commanded the left flank in the Battle of Flodden, where James IV of Scotland was killed. And Henry VIII wrote to Marmaduke in person. At least he probably got someone else to write, and he signed it. He wasn't a great writer, was he?
No.
And he referred to Marmaduke in the letter as Little Sir Marmaduke Constable.
Aww.
Which is patronising, whichever way he meant it. Marmaduke married twice. It's the man, not the dog. First to Marjorie Fitzhugh, and Frances Lovell married one of the Fitzhugh daughters. Later, Marmaduke married Joyce Stafford, with whom he had 6 children. And at least 2 of his boys, another Marmaduke and William, fought with him at the Battle of Flodden and were knighted. His son Robert was knighted at Blackheath, fighting those poor Cornish people, but was later executed for treason for his part in the Pilgrimage of Grace.
Whoops.
No doubt we'll come across them later. A further son, John, married Joan Empson, daughter of the disgraced Richard Empson. Yeah.
So she made out okay.
It seems she did. Well, we don't know what John was like. He might have been awful, but...
Yeah, but she didn't end up in penury.
No, she lost her Empson and became a constable.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder how that actually went about. Like, was this before Empson was executed and was still in power? No, I guess if Henry
No. It's we're Henry VIII's time, yeah. We're in 1513. A later constable descendant was one of the signatories on the execution order for Charles I. So I wonder if constables pop up throughout history. Oh, painter.
Yes.
Could he be a descendant? Marmaduke was a great survivor. He fought in a big battle, and he participated in the reigns of 6 kings. He'd managed to negotiate the minefield. It was the Wars of the Roses.
Goodness.
He'd been a Lancastrian. Then he'd been forgiven by Edward IV, so became a Yorkist. Then he was forgiven by Henry VII. But as we said at the beginning, many people follow that trajectory. What makes Marmaduke Constable especially interesting, apart from his ludicrous name? On the 20th of November, 1518, he unfortunately joined the ranks of people who could have appeared in Horrible History's Stupid Deaths list.
Oh. I
Yes.
love that show, by the way. I love Horrible Histories.
And this is the bit that his Wikipedia page makes no mention of, which is strange, because I guarantee that when you've forgotten everything else about Marmaduke Constable, you'll remember this.
Okay.
He was happily sitting in his garden, enjoying the simple pleasures of life on a warm, sunny day. So what could be nicer than sitting in your garden, looking out across the sea?
Not mine.
He'd earned it. He was 60 years old. He'd seen much over his life. Beautiful. Imagine a deck chair.
Yeah.
He reaches out for his drink.
Cup of iced tea beside you.
Well, not iced tea, water.
Uh-oh.
He reached out. He had his drink of water. He knocked it back. So what do you think happens next?
Is the water bad and he gets dysentery?
Quicker than that. There was a frog in it.
He choked on a frog.
Well, we might think he choked on a frog, but no, history tells us that the frog inside his body ate away at his heart.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
how he died. So yeah, he choked on a frog.
He choked on a frog. Wow.
How did he not feel it? I mean, can you just knock back a frog in one and not realise till you choke?
Well, when you go to drink, you're already in the swallowing motion, but I'm pretty sure you could spit out if you felt a chunk of something in there, and a frog's big. Even little frogs would be noticeable.
Yeah, I mean, you do get some quite dinky little ones. I'm imagining a full-size frog. Maybe just a dinky little one would be enough to get
Are
in.
there poisonous frogs in...
No.
No, I didn't think so.
We don't have poisonous anything. We don't have poisonous anything. We don't have big anything.
Wait, don't you have a snake that technically is poisonous?
We have an adder, but
Adders?
I think the number of people who have ever been bitten by an adder is minuscule. They run away. But no, a frog got into his body from drinking it, and it ate away at his heart. Much of what we know about the man can be found reading his resume on his tomb. Although we're told he fought at Flodden when he was 70, when he died at 60, so that's probably unlikely. Also on his tomb is a carving of a heart with a frog burrowing into it. Now, obviously that's not an image that Marmaduke could have asked for. I wonder if maybe he wasn't exactly thrilled by it, I wouldn't think.
No.
I mean, that's a really daft way to go. And then
Very.
someone makes a carving of it and sticks it on your tomb.
Oh, let's just rub it in.
Yes. In his will, he had stipulated that he should be buried as quickly as possible, quote, without calling of friends or any other solemnity, unquote. So sort of midway between the pomp that some people insisted on and the having your teeth bashed out that Maximilian fancied. So that is the life, and it was a life that was pretty standard for the time, trying to navigate your path through constant changes in loyalty that will keep you alive. And the death, which was not quite so standard of the time, we would think, of Sir Marmaduke Constable.
Interesting.
Why didn't Wikipedia think to put the frog bit in?
I don't know. That's so weird.
Yeah. I mean, I could change it, I suppose.
I rewrite movie endings in my head if I don't like them.
But I like this one.
Yeah.
I can envisage, he's in a cottage garden, surrounded by flowers, roses, and foxgloves, and it's all lovely. Sun's coming down, just perfect day. Reaches out, thinks, oh, I'm a bit thirsty. So, look.
I'm surprised he's drinking water, though.
Yeah, I was surprised about that. I thought he must have had a spring or something on his land that he might drink from. Because I wouldn't risk it.
No, me either.
Who would have thought that you'd think, oh, it doesn't matter, I've got my own fresh water supply, and you scoop it up and you haven't noticed you've scooped up a frog.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, weird.
Yeah.
I still don't think a frog would kill you, though, if you ate it. If you don't have poisonous frogs.
Well, I suppose he's not expecting to chew. He's drinking, so it's going down in one go.
Yeah.
They're quite slithery.
Choking, I could see. But the fact that they said it ate out his heart sounds like he didn't choke. This sounds like he was alive for a little while.
I think he choked. I think this eating out the heart business...
He must have.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably grasped his chest and was going... and they thought, oh, it's eating his heart. Yes. Yeah, you wonder, they must have done an autopsy to find the frog. And I suppose if you're hacking away at somebody in a rather untutored way, by the time you've hacked away at it, the frog probably is sort of lolloping about on his heart.
Yeah.
Different times.
Different times.
I hope you enjoyed listening to that man dying in his garden.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.